All right, everybody. Welcome to the Contextual Christian Church Bible Study, where today we're going to read Ezekiel chapter 43, verses 5 to 17. I'm going to pray it in. Everybody bow your heads. Father, thank you for getting us on this Bible study today as we're continuing into Ezekiel chapter 43. We're probably going to get into some more context of probably some more measurements. If we're not getting into some measurements, hopefully it's some good notes we can put into either our lives or put into something we might want to put into someone else's lives going forward. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. So last time we finished up with the measurements of the temple. Again, we're not sure if we're talking about the second temple that was built or the temple that's supposed to be built at the end of the world, just prior to it happening. But we did get more measurements, more establishment, more design. And the last thing that we ended up with when we started getting into chapter 43 was we had where Ezekiel is getting a new vision again from God, where it's just like the vision that he had at the beginning of Ezekiel when he was by the river Kebar, where he saw God with the throne of many colors and the cherubims. And so when he saw that, so if you need to take time to go back and look at that, go ahead and take time on a different time. But that's basically the concept of what he was dealing with, the same exact vision that he was seeing there. So now we're going to go ahead and continue from there, as it pointed out in verse 4. And the glory of the Lord came into the house by the way of the gate whose prospect is toward the east. So he came into the gate that was facing towards the east. And I'll switch it to our first section. So our first reader can read. Ah. And go ahead, Charles, when you're ready.
All right, I'll be reading Ezekiel chapter 43, verses 5 to 9. Let me give it a couple seconds. Verse 5. So the Spirit took me up and brought me into the inner court, and behold, the glory of the Lord filled the house. And I heard him speaking unto me out of the house. And the man stood by me. And he said unto me, Son of man, the place of my throne, and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever, and my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor their kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings and their high places, in their setting of their threshold by their thresholds, and their posts by my posts, and the wall between me and them. They have they have even defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed. Wherefore I have consumed them in my anger. Now let them put away their whoredom and their carcasses of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in the midst of them forever. So basically, the spirit moving Ezekiel into the inner court, and we're talking about the glory of God filling this house. And God's telling him, the children of Israel are not gonna, this house that we've been doing this measurement of, this this house, children of Israel are not gonna defile, they're not gonna disrespect them nor the kings. They're, yeah, basically they're just not going to defile it and disgust it and treat it in a disrespectful way compared to what they did before we got into them turning away from God. But when they did, they were doing all kinds of crazy stuff with the house of God. They were doing all kinds of crazy stuff outside of the house of God, inside the house of God. It was a mess. But he's talking about they will not do that. They will never do it again, in simple terms. And he's talking
Close,
about,
but not quite.
you go back. Son of man, the place of my throne and the place of the soles of my feet, where I will dwell in the midst of the children of Israel forever. And my holy name shall the house of Israel no more defile, neither they nor the kings by their whoredom, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their. Is it because I said never?
Yep.
Yeah, I shouldn't have added that.
Did it say they were never again, or did it say they're not going to do it?
They're not going to do it, not never
What's the
again. I
difference
shouldn't have
between
added
the
that.
two?
Not going to do it is okay when they come back. They're gonna do this, they're gonna do that, but in the future they could. Versus if I added never again, what happens if we read later on that they defiled it? Then I took it out of
Not
context. I
only
added
that,
something into the Bible.
not only that, we've had our own parents, or maybe at least I have, where your parents will tell you you're not going to do this, this, or this. Are they literally saying that you're not going to, or are they telling you not to do it?
They're telling you not to do it, in other words.
Exactly. Part of it is the fact you added never. Part of it is the fact is you said it as if it was 100%. There's two ways to look at this. One way is to say that he's pointing out when this is built, it's literally not going to happen. The other is to look at it in the same way that those parental times would happen, where he's telling it's an instruction of them not to do it ever again.
Mm-hmm. In the form of telling them, don't do this, don't do that.
Exactly. Now, which seems, but keep going with your context because there's a part of it that will help us to see which is most likely in this case.
Let me.
I mean, go ahead with your
Neither
explanation.
nor their kings by their whoredoms, nor by the carcasses of their kings in their high places, in their setting of their threshold by my thresholds, and their post by my posts, and the wall between me and them. They have even defiled my holy name by their abominations that they have committed. Wherefore I have consumed them in mine anger. Now let them put away their whoredom and carcasses of their kings far from me, and I will dwell in the midst of them forever. I didn't bring that part up. In verse 9, talking about letting them get rid of the stuff that they were supposed to get rid of. When it talks about putting away their whoredom and their carcasses of their kings, get rid of the stuff that you've been idolatry, all the stuff you got
Exactly.
into before. Get rid of that before you come back.
This also gives us a little bit of confirmation about something. We're not fully confirmed in it, but what is it leaning towards? Which temple are we thinking it might lean towards? The one at the end of the world or the one that's the second temple?
I got second temple in my section, just from my section, or
All
adding my
right.
section. I'm sorry.
Thomas, what do you think? Which sounds most likely based on Charles's section? Is it leaning towards second temple or leaning towards the temple at the end of the world?
I'm thinking second temple as well.
All right. Now, give me your reasoning, and I'll tell you one thing for sure. You guys are correct. But let me make sure if your reasoning is based in actual reasoning or just a guess. Charles and then Thomas.
So the reason why I thought about the second temple is because anytime God talks about putting away the carcasses or putting away the whoredom, putting away this or that, we're always reading about this. 9 times out of 10, children of Israel need to put away those things. 9 times out of 10, the children of Israel have to get rid of that and turn to God, rather than us in the future or thus after Jesus' sacrifice. That's what made me think the second temple.
Yes and no, because remember when we read about the end times in the New Testament, it brought up swords and spears, right? But we don't have swords and spears today,
We
and we
don't.
and we brought up how it could be. So the reasoning was not really sound in that fact because you forgot those can be representations; they don't have to be literal. All right, Thomas.
Like you guys are just speaking on how Charles had made a mistake in regards to saying that they would never do it again, but this is in the case to not do it again. So with that being said, if they are to not do it again, then that leaves a door open for something still to happen. But I think if it was in the end times, that it wouldn't be a thing because, like he said, he's going to take away all the swords and spears, and implying that they won't have that ability to battle in a sense. Long story short.
Good. That's a good reasoning. Yeah. We're talking here, as we're reading it, about them putting away the things that they're struggling with, and that and at this time, that they need to not defile it anymore. They need to stop defiling it. And then he puts out for them to put away their whoredoms, put away their problems. But when we read about the in the Old Testament and New about the end times, we read about a time frame where they're not sinning anymore, when it's all done and over with, when they're dwelling with Jesus just before the actual end, the judgment day, that they're actually dwelling and following him. So the fact that they have the ability to work on something and there's a question on whether or not they will, that makes it lean towards the second temple. That's the most likely based on this. When we look at the possibility to change and the need for change, but when we read about the New Testament and the end times, there was no change. It was done and over with. It is what it is. These people who are with Jesus are following. They're not turning away. So that's a big difference. So based on the context, I wouldn't say 99 because that, like I said, that could be taken two different ways, right? It could be saying when he says forever, it could be saying that literally they're never going to sin again. But it could also be looking at it, as we've seen from parents who say the same thing, it could be an instruction rather than a statement of fact. And depending on which way it shows, that would make the difference on if we're talking about the end times or if we're talking about the second temple. But based on the fact of 9 of it bringing up things that they need to work on, that doesn't sound like it's already done away with, even though it could mean that it's less likely. So I would say we're not 99% sure. We're not 100% sure yet, but I would say we're leaning towards like 70, 60, 70%. It's the second temple. We're leaning towards the second temple at this point. All right. This also, if it does turn out to be the second temple, would give more context to the points where God said before about him dwelling with them forever, about them never sinning again. That those could be representatives of the same thing, that it's an instruction more than it is a statement of fact. But with that in mind, does anybody have any comments or questions about the first section as we go to the second? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right, then Thomas, go ahead and unmute and go ahead when you're ready.
All right, we're reading Ezekiel chapter 43, verses 10 through 14. Give it a couple seconds. Now, son of man, show the house to the house of Israel, that they may be ashamed of their iniquities, and let them measure the pattern. And that they be ashamed of all that they have done, show them the form of the house, and the fashion thereof, and the going out thereof, and the coming in thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the ordinance thereof, and all the forms thereof, and all the laws thereof. And I write it in their sight, that they may keep the whole form thereof, and all the ordinance thereof, and do them. This is the law of the house. Upon the top of the mountain, the whole limits thereof round about shall be most holy. One second. Behold, this is the way, this is the law of the house. And these are the measures of the altars after the cubits. The cubit is a cubit. The cubit is a cubit and a hand breadth. Even the bottom shall be a cubit, and the breadth a cubit. and the border thereof by the edge of thereof round about
Ain't you a
shall be
little cubit?
that put me through a loop, and shall be a span, and this should be be the higher place of the altar, and from the bottom of the ground even to the lower settle shall be to 2 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit, and from the lesser settle even to the greater settle should be 4 cubits, and the breadth 1 cubit. We took a break from the measurements and we got right back into it. All right. So 10, pretty much talking to Ezekiel, and let him know, like, look, I want you to show this house to Israel so they can be ashamed for all the sins that they committed. And then we jump into 11. Let me read that one more time. And that they should be ashamed of all that they have done. Should in the form of the house and the fashion thereof. Okay. So then he goes into just uh in regards to them being ashamed of all they done, he wants them to show them a bunch of things. Show them about the form of the house, show them about the coming and going of the place, and all the laws thereof, and write in their sights that they shall keep the whole form thereof and all the ordinance thereof. So he's showing them what they should be ashamed regarding to, and then correcting them in a sense and how to go about it in the right manner. Okay. And then should I go into more detail on 12, or is it good that that explanation was good?
It is good, but what is an ordinance?
The way things should be, or like ordinance, the way things should be in order, how things
Nope.
should be ran and go.
There you go.
That's what I meant.
There's a difference between those two statements, though, right? The way things should be
Yeah,
ordered can mean multiple things,
yeah,
but
being
how
in
things are
order,
supposed to be run is more specific.
right? Being in order is like from first to last, and then obviously I
Exactly.
run. Yep.
Now, that
So
does
how
give
things
us
should be
more
ran.
confirmation. I would say that puts us even in the 90% that we are
Yep.
talking about the second temple, not the end of the end of the New Testament or the end of the world. Why? And that's I'm giving you that. Why is it that that puts it at a 90% that we're talking about the second temple, not the one at the end of the world?
Like I was explaining to my possibility, and it was just a matter of them still doing wrong because in the first place they're showing him in the house because he wants them to be ashamed. So they're clearly not completely right with God in this instance.
Nope,
So that
that is
that
good though, but no, that's not why it goes to a 90%. Like we're almost 100% confirmed at this point, but not because of that part. That part
wait,
is good
I
though.
wasn't done though. I wasn't done.
Okay, no, keep going. But I'm saying that part doesn't help with it. So what
Oh, okay.
else?
So it's just in the matter of the ordinance, telling them the in how things should be ran. That puts it at that 90% because they clearly aren't there. They need to be told on how things should be ran.
No, but you are right about the section and the words, but incorrect about the reason.
Okay.
Let me give Charles a chance. Charles, you got the hints from Thomas's. It is the right word, the ordinances. It does have to do with that, but his reasoning was wrong. Why is it we jump from 70, 60, 70, and I would say verse 10 gives it to 80, but why are we now at like 90, 95% sure that we're talking about the second temple?
I thought he hit it on the. I thought he hit the nail in the coffin. Let me think about it.
You mean the nail in the head? Hit the nail on the head?
I thought it was nail in the coffin.
No. Nail on the head means you hit the right spot. Nail in the coffin means it's finished. It's done and over with.
Nail in the head. Then. Yeah, no, that the nail in the head is. I need to write that down.
Yeah, like
It's pretty
if we were
brutal.
having a roast session and I said that like I don't know how's your hair right now? Have you gotten it fixed in a while? Have you gone to a
It's just an
barber in a
afro.
while?
No, no, that's just an afro.
Okay. So if I was to make a joke saying that your hairline is messed up, I would hit the nail on the head. But if you came back with something like you ain't got no hairline, you would put the nail in the coffin. One of them means you're on target, one of them means you just ended it. It's done and over with.
Okay.
That was a great way to
Okay.
use that. Thomas, you didn't know that either?
No, I knew that.
Oh, okay. All right. So, Thomas, I'll give you another chance. I'll give you a hint, though. It has to do with something that was stated by Paul in the New Testament.
These testaments are so vast, bro. When you
And
say
no,
stuff like
I
that, it
wasn't
does
finished. I was
not.
about to give one. I was
Okay,
about to
okay,
give one
okay,
more. I was
okay.
still thinking of how to phrase it, but I'll give you the second part of the hint. It relates to the Gentiles more than the Jews. That's the most I can give. It's more about the Gentiles than it is about the Jews.
I don't got it.
All right, Charles.
Is it in reference to how Thomas brought up the ordinances, how things are supposed to be, how they should be, and like the laws? But didn't Paul talk about how? Are you talking about the verse where there's no separation between Gentile and Jew? Is it in reference to
Nope.
that? Oh, okay.
All right. For sake of understanding, I want you guys to turn to this. Colossians chapter 2. And we're going to start in verse 16 and go all the way to verse 20. Actually, no, I wouldn't even say 20. I'd say verse 23.
Okay, I can read it.
Yep.
So Colossians chapter 2, verse 16. I'll give it a couple seconds.
23. Yep.
All right. Verse 16. Let no man therefore judge you in meat, or in drink, or in respect of an holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. Let no man, but is that beguile?
Yes.
Beguile you of your
Means to
reward,
deceive you.
uh, you of your reward in a voluntary humility and worshiping of angels, intruding into those things which he have not seen, vainly puffed up by his fleshly mind, and not holding the head, from which all the body by joints and bands, having nourishment ministered and knit together, increaseth with the increase of God. Wherefore, if ye be dead with Christ from the rudiments of the world, why, as though living in the world, are ye subjects to ordinances? Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and the doctrine. Oh, that was a question. Let me try that again.
Mhm.
Touch not, taste not, handle not, which all are to perish with the using, after the commandments and doctrines of men, which things have indeed a show of wisdom in will worship and humility and neglecting of the body, not in any honor to the satisfying of the flesh.
So, New Testament law, for those of us that have been obeyed the gospel, if we want to, we can do those worships. We can follow those ordinances. We are allowed to do so. However, we are not subject to them. We are not required of them. But what did we just read in our section today? In Thomas's section. Thomas?
And then you can get right.
Yeah. Is that an optional? Is that a will worship? Like you're just doing it because you're willing to, you want to? Or is that a requirement?
No, that sounds like a requirement.
That's why we have it to 99%. That's why we have it where it's, I mean, we might as well say 100%. Unless something pops up, some crazy part of context that tells us, oh, this is afterward. Because the only exception where it could be talking about a different temple is we're not even talking about prior to the end times, but we're talking about how we're going to be after we're dead, after we're in heaven. Unless we get something to point out that this is discussing heaven and giving them the reprimand to get it right here while they're on earth so that they can go to heaven, unless it's talking about that, we're at 100% talking about the second temple, not about a temple at the end of the earth, just before the world is destroyed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
When you bring this in, yeah, now it makes sense.
Yep. And what made me think of that was the word ordinances. That's why I said the word was right, but the reason was wrong, Thomas. You had the right word, though.
Gotcha.
All right, now go ahead with your final couple verses to explain those.
So 12. This is the law of the house. All the ground around it on this mountaintop is holy. Long story short, for 12. And then in 13 and 14, he gets back into the measurements. And the reason why he's getting back into the measurements, because he says, show the house to Israel. And then at the end of that, it says, of 10, it says, hey, let them measure the pattern. So he got to put Ezekiel on game regarding everything. So we back at the measurements. And that's pretty much it.
Good. Why does it matter to point out these measurements? This area will be considered holy. Possibility question. Thomas?
Wait, what'd you say?
It's a possibility question. Why would it matter to set these measurements to say that this area is holy? Because when he set these measurements, he didn't just measure any random thing. He measured the house of God. He measured everything around it and then pointed out that this house is holy. This mountain, the whole limit, everything around it is holy. And that is the law of the house, that the whole thing is holy. Why would it matter to point that out?
So
That's a
Ezekiel,
possibility question because there's a bunch of reasons that it could be.
so Ezekiel could put a flag in the ground right where the holy ground starts. Don't you dare commit anything that's not holy in this general area.
That's definitely a possibility. Yep. Charles?
Thanks, Thomas. Didn't in Thomas's section it talked about writing it down as well to making sure, like, let's say Ezekiel tells to whoever's supposed to do it, it's written down, so I don't have to turn around and go to Ezekiel. It's already written down for me, so I can go off what was written down and make sure I got it right.
You have no excuse. That's a definite possibility.
There you go.
Taking away excuses, definite possibility. Setting a boundary line, definite possibility. All right, Thomas, can you think of another?
No, Charles had a good one too. I'm a one-trick pony.
I think I got one more.
All right, Charles.
I know this is a stretch. I'm reaching on this one to test the because Ezekiel's gonna do what he's supposed to do to test the children of Israel. Are you actually gonna follow my simple command, as in following these measurements? Are you gonna go off and do whatever you want to do? I know it's a reach, but
no, that's a possibility. I mean, we saw that happen before, right? Where have we seen that before?
I'm trying to remember.
Thomas, where have we seen a small requirement being used to test somebody?
I can't
There's a
recall.
really big one. I'll give you a hint. It's towards the beginning of the Bible. No
You talking about
dice?
Adam and Eve?
Yeah, Adam and Eve. What was the rule?
Not
Don't
the
eat the fruit of this one tree.
Yeah.
Not of
Yeah.
any other tree. You can eat any other tree. You can do whatever the heck you want. You ain't got to work for nothing. You ain't got to do nothing. Just this one specific tree. Don't eat from it. Yeah. So we've seen that before. So that's a definite possibility. All right. I'll give you another. He's not setting this boundary to test them or to have them be warned. But he's setting this boundary because he knows that beyond that boundary, there's going to be sinners living in sin. And so he's setting it as a point of placement for defense. That while they're doing all this craziness on the outside, just at least keep this place good. Even though, like Sodom and Gomorrah with Lot, Lot's family was the only ones trying to do right by God in Sodom and Gomorrah, and they were surrounded by it. In the same token, he could be setting boundaries like this because he thinks that's going to happen. There's a lot of possibilities of what this could mean and why he's having them do that. But we do know one thing for sure. Well, two things. One, as we brought up earlier, this is probably the second temple. And two, that God is having them understand these measurements for some reason. So we don't know why yet. We do know it's of importance. Now, since both of you guys got it completely good on your explanations, Thomas, did you do an explanation yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, then Charles, it's your turn. I couldn't remember because if it was just all measurements again, or if I actually had you do an explanation.
Yeah, he did an explanation.
All right, so Charles, it'll be your turn for the last one today.
I can read it.
Okay.
Yeah, I can read it.
Now, in the meantime, does anybody have any comments or questions about the second section before we read the last? Now would be the time to raise your hand. All right. Then go ahead, Charles, with the final one.
All right, I'll be reading Ezekiel chapter 43, verses 15 to 17. I'll give it a couple seconds. Verse 15. So the altar shall be 4 cubits, and from the altar and upward shall be 4 horns, and the altar shall be 12 cubits long, 12 broad, square in the 4 squares thereof. And the settle shall be 14 cubits long and 14 broad in the 4 squares thereof. And the border about it shall be half a cubit, and the bottom thereof shall be a cubit about, and his stairs shall look toward the east. So right now in my section, we have the measurements for an altar that's going to have 4 horns on it. And we also have, let me make sure I re-explain settle correctly. From H5826, in the original meaning of surrounding, an enclosure, also a border.
Yep.
Surround. Okay. So we're talking about, so I can, a border. Anybody can understand a border. Even the kids these days can understand a border.
Yep.
So we have the altar, the 4 horns with the altar, and those measurements, and the measurements for their border. And the stairs as well, that with the border. And the stairs facing the east. That's all I got.
Good. All right. Nothing more to add on there. Just got more measurements. All right. Now then, go ahead, Charles, and pray us out since you're the last to read.
All right.
From the Bible study portion.
Yeah. Everybody go ahead and bow your heads. Father, thank you for giving us this Bible study. Even though we had measurements, we still had interesting topics to get to, and almost 99.9% confirmation on something we've been discussing in previous Bible studies. I pray that we continue to grow, learn, and be able to re-explain every Bible study after this as best as possible. Yeah, in Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. All right. Now then, actually no, I gotta say tonight's listening. Get up to it. Is Jeremiah 9 to 22. Oh, we get to one of the most used. Oh no, that's not tonight. That's tomorrow nights. Dang. I was gonna see if you guys are gonna be able to catch it. No, yeah, tomorrow night. But anyways, Jeremiah 9:22, 9 to 22. Let me know when you guys got it.
Got it.
Thomas?
Yeah, I got it.
All right. Just a heads up, you got to make sure you give time because you've a couple times you've closed off the mute button and we didn't hear what you said. So once you unmute it, make sure you give a couple seconds before you mute it back. All right. Now, last night was Isaiah chapter 62 to Jeremiah chapter 8. Thomas, how many did you get?
I got 1 or 2, but let me go second. I got to use the bathroom.
All right. Have fun, but not too much. Charles?
Just 2.
All right. So we'll have Charles go first. If Thomas is not done, I'll go next. And then Thomas can go last, if that's the case.
Okay.
But if he's done, he'll go second. Go ahead when you're ready, Charles.
I'm about to bring this one up, but I want to double check something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Jeremiah chapter 1. First one I want to bring up verses 12 to, come on, phone, what we doing? 12 to 15. Let me reread one more. Let me just read it now. Then said the Lord unto me, Thou hast well seen, for I will hasten my word to perform it. And the word of the Lord came unto me the second time, saying, What seest thou? And I said, I see a seething pot, in the face thereof is toward the north. Then the Lord said unto me, Out of the north an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For lo, I will call all the families of the kingdoms of the north, saith the Lord, and they shall come, and they shall set every one his throne at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem, and against all the walls thereof round about, and against all the cities of Judah. That's why I wrote it down. I was trying to remember why I wrote it down. Now, when we got into Daniel and Ezekiel, we got into who was going to come against the children of Israel. We already got Babylon and all of that. In Jeremiah, we start off with them saying them from the north. I just thought that was interesting. It didn't specify. We already got the specification though.
Yep.
And the next one I want to bring up, I wrote it down. Jeremiah. Oh, Jeremiah chapter 2. Verses 27 to 28. Let me go to it.
Okay. You're way excited.
Verse 27. Saying to a stock, Thou art my father, and to a stone, Thou hast brought me forth. For they have turned their back unto me, and not their face. But in the time of their trouble, they will say, Arise and save us. But where are thy gods that thou hast made thee? Let them arise if they can save thee in the time of thy trouble. For according to the number of thy cities are thy gods, O Judah. Like when God is getting sarcastic, it's funny to me, but he's getting sarcastic. Like, you go to them. You made these gods. You worship these gods. Go to them. Don't come to me in your time of trouble. After you worship them and did this and did that, don't you coming to me in your trouble? Go to them. They're supposed to save you, in other words. Yeah, that one, that one stuck up to me.
It's funny as heck.
Did I write another one? Nope, that's all I got.
All right. Thomas, are you ready?
Which one was that, Charles?
Jeremiah chapter 2, verses 27 and 28.
All right.
Yeah, he wanted to write them down as a positive thing. Again, I love how God could be so sarcastic, Charles. It's like, yeah,
Boy, boy, I'm starting to catch it a lot more faster now.
yeah. We saw the same thing with Elijah, remember? When they were
Yeah.
trying to worship their God, and there was a challenge to see who's the real true one God. And they were
Oh,
like,
when they
oh,
had the
maybe he's sleeping. You should yell out. Like,
yeah, it was the prophets of the other thing versus Elijah, and they were waiting for
Mhm.
theirs, and didn't they cut themselves too? They were
Yeah.
begging, crying. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And he was like,
Right,
maybe he's asleep. Maybe you should yell. Like, maybe he's just tired.
right. Oh man.
All right, Thomas.
First one's going to be Jeremiah 7, verses over there, verses 3 through 7.
All right.
And it's here. Thus saith the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, amend your way and your doing, and I will cause you to dwell in this place. Trust ye not in lying words, saying, the temple of the Lord. For if ye thoroughly amend your ways, if ye oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, then I will cause you to dwell in this place. So, for a little bit of context, we have, hold on one second.
Mm-hmm.
We have God pretty much utilizing Jeremiah to warn Judah not to rely on like outward religions or anything other than God. And what I have for a life lesson on this one. Oh yes, when it comes to real faith, the real faith shows in action. You know, a lot of people could just bark, they don't bite. So
Good.
that's what I had there. Um,
The only thing I would point out about that one too is the fact that it says not to oppress the stranger. We've seen when the Bible talks about a foreigner, and it separates the foreigner versus the stranger. Foreigner
mhm.
is somebody who's from another land. A stranger is somebody who's living here in this land, did it the right way, converted and everything, or following, and they're following what God says, even though they're not part of the children of Israel. That's important because, like, we have the conversations in online and stuff today, where people are talking about illegal immigration. Like, well, if you're a Christian, where's the borders in God? Like, literally, God makes a distinction between foreigners and strangers. Strangers follow the laws of the land. Foreigners don't live here. It literally makes the distinction. So if you're here illegally, it's the Christian thing to kick you out or to force you to abide by the laws, which means you would be kicked out because you came here illegally. You got to do it the right way. So just a little side note on that. But go ahead to your second one.
A good side note as always. Second one's going to be Isaiah chapter 64, verses let's see, 4 through 8. But just to summarize real quick, I'm not going to read it all. For since the beginning of the world, men have not heard what he hath prepared for him that waiteth for him. But now, O Lord, thou art our Father. We are the clay, and thou art porter. And we
Potter.
all Potter, my bad. I said porter is crazy. And we all are the works of thy hand. So this context wise, this is like the prayer confession that Isaiah had made. Just reaching out and understanding God's unique ability to pretty much shape people like a potter, like I said in the verses.
Good.
Okay, so life lesson. I had something. Okay, so I lost it. I ain't gonna lie. That's what I got though.
You keep on saying life lesson like you're trying to make more homework for us. Like we got to start doing life lessons off of everything we hear.
Hey, no, no, nothing else.
I seem to
Let's just
recall the
go ahead
conversation
and
we
let
had a
everything go.
while ago when you said, like, all right, we'll just do this thing, we'll point them out, and then nothing more. We're not gonna have. I said, well, I can't say we'll have nothing more because what happens if you come up with a good idea and we pray about it and God's answer is to do that? Like, who knows what the rule is for the next time we go through? We can't say no more.
That'll be the last time you hear a life lesson from me.
But you know we're gonna have to pray about it, about whether or not, especially when it comes to preaching, because with having the life lessons is a really good idea. But if that's the case, we would have to break it down to only one verse section that we bring up. And what we could do in a situation like that, if that prayer was the answer, is we could say which one stuck out to us, so everybody can go back and check them if they want, and then just what sections. And I've been thinking about this part for a while. I think even though we bring up three, I think we need to share which one stuck out to us entirely, so that each one could look it up if we want to at some point. You know what I mean? So I'll pray about it at the end of when we're done with this listening. But it's especially when it comes to preaching and teaching, it's not like it's a bad thing to look and think about life lessons. So don't say no more. There won't be no more, Thomas. No, but I'm just playing. If you want to do life lessons, that's fine. There's no requirement on that. But that
All
would
right.
be a good idea to have on the next time that we go through the Bible listening. But we'd have to pray about that first. We already have the answer for this one. This one, it's just picking the three and then the three that stuck out to us the most.
Pretty soon there's gonna
Or
be two Bible studies back to back. That's what we're getting to.
look, hey, I already said before, when the time comes where I make enough residual income to be home every day, I'm planning to host, if I can, three Bible studies a day.
I want to go home.
No, it's gonna be so that everybody gets a chance, so that there's no like lack of opportunity. One in the early morning in case people work overnight, one in the afternoon in case they work in the morning, and one in the nighttime in case they work in the afternoon. So that no matter what, people have the ability to do it. Now, I won't require everybody to be part of it because every single one will be the same Bible study. Literally, we'll be going through the same thing. That's my plan and goal and hope. So we will see. And if you guys get far enough with it, especially after baptism, I wouldn't hesitate to have you guys have like your own designated, and I just listen in to two of them. But if you're already starting to think about life lessons now, I mean, just imagine where you're going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now. Can you imagine how far along you're going to be then? Like Charles came out of nothing, and look at where he is. He's only been studying for just over 2 years. It'll be 3 years in October. You see what I'm
I'll
saying?
say, I'm gonna say it a million times over. All I knew was how to spell Jesus' name. I knew nothing else.
So can you guys imagine when you're 10 years in like I am, especially considering you have me as a teacher when I had nobody? It's going to be crazy.
Oh, definitely. I'm actually really excited for it too.
Yeah.
The level of growth, I cannot wait.
Yep. Because you can already see the growth now, right? You already see how far you've come even from when you just started. And you weren't
Yes,
even
sir.
taking it seriously when you first started. So imagine 10 years from now. It's crazy. And the amount of times we will have gone through the Bible at that point is crazy. So, anyways, now for me, I had a few stuck out. And of the ones that stuck out, I think I'll go to Isaiah 62, verse 1 to 3 first. When he said in here, for Zion's sake, I will not hold my peace, and for Jerusalem's sake, I will not rest until the righteousness thereof go forth as brightness, and the salvation thereof as a lamp that burneth. And the Gentiles shall see thy righteousness, and all kings thy glory. And thou shalt be called by a new name, which the mouth of the Lord shall name. Thou shalt be a crown of glory in the hand of the Lord, and a royal diadem in the hand of thy God. Okay, this didn't stick out to me because of the Gentiles seeing it. We've already seen a bunch that was about that. The part that stuck out to me about here was that you will be called by a new name. That is crazy because Jewish is a term that means you follow Judaism. You're of the Jewish religion. You're going to be called by a new name. What are people who follow God called today, Charles?
Say that. There we go. Say it one. Say that question again.
What are people called today that actually follow God?
Talking about Christians.
Christians. So if you're still calling yourself a Jew, are you actually following God, Thomas?
No.
No.
He literally said they will be called by a new name. You're not going to be called Jewish no more. You're not going to be called Israelites no more. There's going to be a new name that the Lord will give. What did they get called? The way. They got called Christians. Christians. So if you're still calling yourself Jewish today, you're going against what God said in Isaiah. So it goes back to something that I said before that I didn't even realize that God said this. It's funny, like we've already listened to the Bible twice. This is the third time, and now now it hits. There is no such thing as a true biblical Jew. They don't exist no more. Because if you truly believed in God and you truly followed God, would you still be following the Jewish faith? No. You would be following Christ. Because everything in the word shows to him. So even by God's own words, he said they would be called by a new name. So no, you're not Jewish no more. You're Christian. And if you're still calling yourself Jewish instead of Christian, like a Jew for Jesus, one of the sects, SECTS, and you ain't following him. So that part stuck out to me for that. And I didn't even bring actually no, let me go up to the next one. So now I have to decide because Charles brought up Jeremiah chapter 1, but a different section than mine. Now I got a couple more in Isaiah, but I don't want to put them out. Because we're only supposed to do 3. You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna go chapter 65 of Isaiah and 9 to 16. Or is that the one? No, it's this my bad, not 9 to 16. It's 17 to 22. Charles, you didn't bring up 65, did you? You didn't bring up
No,
anything in
all mine
Isaiah,
were
did you?
no, all mine were Jeremiah.
And Thomas, you didn't bring anything in Isaiah up, right? Of 65?
No.
All right. So in here, in verse 17, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem and joy in my people, and the voice of weeping shall no more be heard, nor the voice of crying. There shall no more there thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not fulfilled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old, but the sinner being 100 years old shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them. They shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit thereof them. They shall not build another inhabit, and they shall not build and another inhabit. They shall not plant and another eat. For as the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall enjoy the work of their hands. So this is literally talking about heaven. When there's no more tears, no more sorrow, no more none of that. But it brings up something of very importance that debunks the ideology of Jehovah's Witness, because they believe that we're in the new heaven and earth. They believe that when the time comes in the judgment day, that everything that's on this earth is what we're going to be able to, they're going to receive for those that actually follow in their faith. But it said in here, for behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. That stuck out me for two reasons. One, Charles, do we remember? Do we have any historical documents or anything proving the earth existed before Jesus was born?
What? That sounds like a trick question.
Yeah, there it
No.
is. Yeah, we have historical documents. We know the earth existed before Jesus was born. We know because we have historical stuff from it, from Egypt, from all this stuff. So if Jehovah's Witness was accurate, would any of that information exist according to this word, Charles?
Didn't know.
Then no. So this means that the new heaven and earth have to be after a time where all that is gone. Because as long as we are on this same earth, are we ever going to forget that this earth existed?
No.
No, it's stupid. So, in the new heaven and new earth, we're not going to remember the old earth. It's not even going to come into mind. We're not going to know about it. That also proves something that I suggested as a possibility, but this 100% confirms it. Remember when I said about the whole no more tears, no more sorrow? And I said, I can't think of another way where that would be possible unless God makes us forget everything that happened on earth, everybody we knew and all that. And we're just a full fresh start. Well, doesn't that sound the same as forgetting the past earth too?
I get where you're coming from.
We have 100% confirmation here. 100%, unless some crazy pops out, we got 100% confirmation here that the reason that there will be no more tears, no more sorrow, in part, that what I said is a fact, not a possibility anymore. Because if you don't, how can you not remember the old earth, nor it come into mind if we still remember the people from the old earth? Thomas, would you be able to remember the people of the earth and not remember that the earth existed?
No.
Exactly. So it's confirmed now. It is 100% confirmed. The reason we're going to have no more pain, no more sorrow, it's not meaning that from that point we're not going to have. No, at that we're not going to have any from period. If you could remember your past family that passed on and went to hell, you would not have joy. You 100%. You would have times of sorrow because you miss them. So this 100% confirms for those of us that follow God, we're not going to remember anything from this earth. So when people sit here and say that if their partner or their wife or husband died, and it was like, I can't wait to when I go to heaven and I can see my wife again. Charles, are you going to know that that's your wife?
No.
No, you're not. It's a stupid thing to say. And we don't realize it's stupid because people don't read the Old Testament. They don't read and get the context. Literally, you're going to forget everything. Everything of the past will be gone. You're not going to remember none of it. So there we go. And then we look back at what happened with Samson when he was called up by Saul. I mean Samuel when he was called up by Saul. And when he got brought up from paradise, not heaven, paradise, and he got called up to ask questions, his response was, "Bro, what do you want? What are you trying to call me for?" He was not talking to him like he was the king. The entire time he was on earth, how did Samuel treat Saul? Charles?
You said the entire time he was on Earth before he went up?
Yeah, before he died.
Like an idiot, if I remember correctly.
No, not
Because then,
entirely. He
because
treated
Saul
him
would
with
always,
respect, but he would call him out.
because
It
wasn't
wasn't
Saul at the time
disrespectful.
going to, because Saul was, he, if Samuel told him one thing, Saul would do the other, if I remember
Yeah.
correctly.
Saul was trying to do whatever he wanted. Like he said, he was told to go and kill everything, but then he was sitting there saying, "Well, we brought back the sheep and stuff." And then
And he saved the
Samuel, as
king of
in,
that
was like,
place,
"I
and
wonder
Samuel had to kill him.
why." Yeah. I was like, "Wonder why I'm hearing the bleating of a sheep? Why am I hearing sheep, Saul? Why am I hearing sheep?" It's like, brother he was respectful, but he was honest. He was calling him out when it was needed to call out. But when he got called back, he was like, "If God rejected you, what the heck do you want me to do? It ain't got nothing to do with that. You called me up for this?" That's basically what Saul said. Like, I'm busy enjoying life. That also goes to show again, because there's no remembrance, as we just saw here, that after we die initially, we don't go to heaven at that point, we go to paradise. But obviously, if people have the ability to call up old spirits, and Saul and Samuel was called, then he hasn't been in paradise where there's no more pain, sorrow, none of that. Because that was an irritation. He didn't want to be called. He wanted to be enjoying what he was enjoying. So, anyways, that's why that one stuck out to me, because of the two reasons. It debunks the idea from Jehovah's Witness that we're in the new heaven and earth, that it meant like the change of earth when Jesus sacrificed himself, but also the fact that when we go to heaven, we will have no more memory. When we go to that new life, we will have no more memory of anything. We're going to be starting fresh. So, but we can understand that feeling of it, right? Like even David said that his baby can't return to him, but he can go to where his baby is after he was repented. So we're talking about paradise. So that feeling, that desire to see him again, that does exist here, but it also shows we won't remember them. They'll be just another person serving God. All right. And then the last one that stuck out to me, and I'm like, there were so many good ones. I'll do two more because they were just so good. Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 and 5, and then Jeremiah chapter 2, verse 35. So Jeremiah 1, verse 4 and 5. Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations. Okay, this matters because this debunks the idea of being born with sin. If you're in sin, can God sanctify you? No. Sanctification, it requires a sacrifice, it requires something if you're in sin. You have to get some, you have to make yourself right with God first before you can be sanctified, separated unto him. But he was made sanctified and ordained to be a prophet from the womb. So if you've been sanctified inside the womb, can you have sin while you're inside the womb, Charles?
No.
So there, 100% straightforward, backs it up. You are not born with sin. You do not have sin from birth. And it's backed up word by word from what happened in Jeremiah 1, 4, and 5. Because Jeremiah was sanctified while he was already in the womb, which wouldn't be possible if he already had sin, because he would already be separated. And he would need an offering to be made right with God before he could be sanctified further. Just like the priest. When they were sanctified of God, they actually had to do offerings. They had to wash themselves. They had to make sure they were purified first. Then they were able to be sanctified. Purification, then sanctification, not the other way around. So biblically speaking, 5 proves the fact that you cannot be born with sin. Otherwise, Jeremiah couldn't have been sanctified from the womb. And then the last one, chapter 2, in verse 35, which is part of what Charles brought up, but I wanted to point out this one because I was going to point out what Charles brought up, that whole section, but it boils down to verse 35. And where he says, and he's just going through about all the wickedness they've been doing and everything, right? All prior to 35. But then he says in 35, yet thou sayest, because I am innocent, surely his anger shall turn from me. Behold, I will plead with thee, because thou sayest, I have not sinned. God is sitting here saying, you've been doing all this wrong and everything, but you're going to sit here and call yourself innocent? And that because of your innocence, that you're going to plead, that I'm going to plead with you? Because you say, just because you say you haven't sinned? Like, do you think either you think I'm stupid or you're stupid? That's the only options here, man. Like, you've literally been living in your sin and you gonna call yourself innocent. You gonna sit here and say you haven't sinned. Now, this stuck with me because of all the people in the world, every boy and girl who sits here and claims that they're a good person and they ain't even following God according to his word. And I am not just including those who claim they're Christian. I mean all of them. When they pray to God, because sometimes it happens with people that ain't even claiming Christian, they pray to God and sit here and say that, God, if you help me, I'll follow you. If you help me, I'll do this. And then they don't get the answer they wanted. And then they're sitting here mad or saying, well, I did pray to God once and nothing happened, and that proves it. No, you've been living in sin. Shut up. You're going to sit here and live in sin, and then in a time of trouble, finally calling to God, knowing dang well the moment everything works out, you ain't going to follow him according to his word. And you going to sit here and do that? And then wonder why God didn't answer your prayers. We've talked about this before. God will answer the prayers of somebody who was a sinner, but is trying to follow God. Even if they haven't fully made it, he will answer their prayers sometimes for those who are trying. But the people he does not answer whatsoever are the people living in sin. And you got people in Christian religions and outside of them who are living according to their own ways or their pastor preacher ways, either side, and then sitting here trying to wonder why God didn't answer them, or even if he did answer, the answer was no. Things didn't go their way when they pray to God. What did you think was going to happen? How stupid are you? Charles, if I've been living at your house for 3 months and I have done nothing but constantly make it a mess, I destroyed your furniture, I had brought a dog in and he tore up all your shoes, and I never even apologized for it, and then I come here and I ask you, hey, Charles, I can't pay rent this month. Do you think you could help me out with just 1 month? What are you going to say to me in that situation?
No.
Exactly. Matter of fact, let's be realistic. Are you just going to say no in that situation?
Why
Or are
are
you
you
going to
here?
go off?
Why are you
You
here?
won't go off on me in that situation, right?
I'm
Oh,
petty.
man.
You know me, I'm petty. So I got, whatever joke comes to mind, that's what's gonna the first thing. It's the
How
first joke that comes to mind.
you haven't packed your stuff yet? Like, I'm surprised your stuff ain't packed and ready to go. That'd be something like that. Thomas,
You can
same
find
question
a
to
bunch of
you.
pennies.
How would you respond in that situation? You gonna sit here and help me out? Let me stay an extra month?
I'll look upside your forehead like, bro.
Exactly. Exactly. So
You
that's
should
why
double
this
check your
one says,
astrology.
just check your astrology. Maybe the moon wasn't rising for you today.
I knew that star was out of alignment. I knew it. Mm-mm-mm. If whatever joke comes to mind, now you got me thinking about jokes.
You're a Leo. You should have been a Sagittarius. My, but that's the whole point. That's the whole point. So as we go through this, I'm just looking at God's response to them, the sarcastic and a little petty. You can't sit here and live your life in sin and you're not even trying to follow. Like, and let me point out one thing: the movie and the book Case for Christ. That guy was actually trying to seek to prove something. It wasn't some baseless request. When he did pray, a lot of things changed around for him. And yet, the dude never obeyed the gospel. He never got baptized for the right reason. And so, right now, because we know that much, we can know that he is not in heaven. When somebody's alive on earth, we can't sit here and judge if they're in heaven or hell. I mean, in paradise or torment. We can't judge that while they're here. We don't know what the future holds. But we know dang well if you haven't obeyed the gospel, you ain't in paradise because the Bible said so. So, no, yeah, we are not the judge, but we can discern. And he, because he didn't obey the gospel according to the word, didn't even have the proper understanding when he got baptized, thought it was an expression of faith. And and you know what's so funny about it? And it goes back to the same point from what we're listening, or the listening from last night. How do you have such a desire that you seek out to try to disprove, so much so that you end up proving Christianity beyond a shadow of doubt, and then you don't put that same amount of energy into making sure you're following the correct doctrine? Have y'all thought about that for at all? Like with the people you've known or seen that are supposedly Christian but are fake Christian? How do you have so much energy, so much desire to be invested and involved in things like this, but not enough desire, not enough effort to make sure you're following the accurate faith instead of a private interpretation? Thomas and then Charles, y'all thought about that at all? Like about the people you've known or the people you've seen or the things you've seen?
Yeah, they love to go above and beyond for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. It's just crazy. And Charles?
I think about it every time when you bring up the example of people talking about you don't have to do Bible studies every day, but then they get so much contextually wrong. Then they create laws. Then you see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Actually, I didn't even think about that. That's so funny.
Every time.
The debate that I had with the people from the Church of Christ when they said that you don't have to study every day. Well, maybe if you did study every day, you wouldn't be following a false doctrine. Like, not even, I can't believe I never considered that. If you did study every day, maybe you wouldn't be in a false doctrine like you are and thinking that you're not. Ain't that crazy?
Yeah.
Like if they went through the Bible in order, in context like we do, instead of just jumping around like people do, they would be following truth instead of an agreed upon lie. That's crazy. So, anyways, that's it for mine that I'm gonna point out. Um, and in case you guys want, I am gonna start doing it. You don't have to, but I'm gonna tell you guys all the ones that stuck out to me. Let me know if you want to write them down so you can look them up if ever you have time. I'm gonna start doing that every time. I'm gonna point out
You
all the ones that stuck out to me, and just so you can type them up if you want.
Oh, you mean like whatever stuck out to you, I would write them down.
Like I'm gonna
You mean like
say
that?
them right now, and I'm personally choosing to do this from now on. And next time, I'm gonna try to do it before I go into them. But I'm gonna let you guys know in case you guys want to write down the sections that stuck out to me.
Okay, I'll see what you're saying. Okay.
Now you don't have to write them down, but I'm just letting you know in case you do.
All
Do
right.
you guys want to write down the ones that stuck out to me?
I'm going to start now. Now that you brought it up, as long as I can remember to.
All right. And I'm gonna start. Then I'm gonna start doing this, and you guys can if you want, but you don't have to. But I'm going to. It's something I'm gonna try to focus on doing from now on. All right. Isaiah chapter 62, verse 1 to 3. Chapter 63, verse 5. Chapter 65, verse 9 to 16. As a separate part, verse 17 to 22, same chapter. So 65, verse 17 to 22. And then Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 4 to 5. Chapter 2, verse 35. Chapter 3, verse 14 to 17. And chapter 6, verse 9 to 15.
I was gonna say, are you gonna give us the ones that stuck out the most or all of them?
No, I'm going to start giving all of them because we
All of
can't
them.
read
Okay.
all of them. Like, we don't have time for that. But if I give you the ones, if you ever have like a desire, like you could look up, well, I wonder why this one stuck out. Why did this one
Okay.
stick out? What is this talking about? You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
Like, even if when we start the Bible again, even if we don't end up doing life lessons for like all of them, I still think it's a good idea that we point out what stuck out to each of us. And I'll pray
Yeah.
about that for in case as like a requirement, but I think it's a good thing to have everybody have them written down. So in case you want to look them up later, well, I wonder, like, especially being the fact that I'm teaching you guys, it'll be like, oh, like, well, I wonder which one stuck out to Matt. Let me look at those. Why did those stick out to him? And then you can read them and be like, oh, I see why that stuck out. I see why this stuck out. I see this resemblance. You see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. And
So
then
I'm
do
not
them
gonna
as long as
require
you
it of
got
you
the.
guys, but if you guys do want, I mean, I'm not gonna force you guys, but if you do want, you can say the ones that you did too that stuck out to you. But I'm gonna start saying it because I thought about it, and having only the 3 of them that we stick out, and we're only saying those. What if I want to look into all the ones that stuck out to you, Charles, and just to see where your mind's at or what's really pointing out to you, or to Thomas, the same thing. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So you guys can if you want, and if you do want to start doing that from now on, just give me a heads up. But I'm gonna start doing it myself. Not a requirement though. I'm going to though. All right.
I
And
got
if
you.
you guys need to write down the ones that I said, or if you want me to say them again, let me know. That's the other thing. All right, Thomas, you got that too?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right, cool. All right. Anything else y'all want to add or say before we close it out? All right, Charles, you're unmuted. Thomas, you're unmuted.
Oh
No.
no, nothing else.
Oh, okay. All right. I'll close it out. Have a good night, y'all.